Once you're in a Create a Form page, the first thing you're going to do is select the form type, and then we're going to add in some columns to form the content shape of the form. So 12 width means that the component will go across the whole page, and 6 means half. So generally when you're doing things like first name and last name, they can both go in a 6 width component column. And when you're doing content with an introduction, usually 12 is good for that. So I'm just adding in the different columns here that will form the outline for where we're going to drag and drop the components. So the first one is some information on the form. Then we're going to use the text field to create things like first name and last name. We're just going to tick that it's required here, and we can also update the API name there as well for integration purposes. Again, we're going to do some last names, check the validation. Next, we're going to add in a number field, which we're going to use for the Medicare card number. Again, make it required. And click Save. Make sure you click Save. The next component we're going to use is for date of birth, and we're going to use a date time component here. We need to update the format to follow Australian format. So get rid of the first one, do DD, capital MM, and then 4 Ys, lowercase. And then also in the date component, we want to put in moment into maximum, so people can't select more than now. Untick the time part as well, and then click Save. So we're just going to go ahead now and fill out the rest of the form fields with the questions that we want to collect information on. So the next component we're going to add in is a select component. This essentially is a drop down, and it allows people to select one option from your list. So here we're going to put in our states into the labels, and we just click add another. Do this until all your answers have been input. You can also reorder them here by dragging and dropping. The values are your values that will get input into your end system, whether it's a spreadsheet or if you're going to do any integration. So I'm just changing it here to be in alphabetical order. Again, check the validations on and click Save. Next component we're going to add in is a phone number. So drag and drop the phone number component over. And this allows us to create a mask that people have to input to follow. Just a bit more sophisticated than the normal number component. Again, with the email, same thing, drag and drop the email over and click Save. So you can see here I've run out of columns, so I'm just going to go back to my column layout and add another box where I can add in my final component for this part of the survey. Now that we've reached the next part of our form, I'm actually going to drag and drop a new layout column component and do the whole thing all over again. Now that we've completed the next of kin details, again, we're going to add in some new columns to do our next part, which is consent. I want all of my parts in here to be full width, so I'm going to make them all 12 and click Save. Again, I'm going to add my title, but also I'm going to add some additional consent that we can actually paste in here. So if you've got consent text that you keep on a Word document, you can paste that in there so that it's easy to see and matches what's on your other forms as well. We're then going to use the checkbox component to create the actual consent item that they're checking that they agree with. The next area of the consent part is we're going to put in the actual signing elements. So here we're going to put the patient name, and again we're going to do their last name here. Next we're going to drag and drop the advanced component of signature. We can change the background color here if we like. So by default it's a light beige. We can also change the width and the height of the signing box as well, along with the pen color. Make sure we tick this one on as required if you need a signature there. The next part we're going to drag over is another date and time component, and this is going to mark the date and time that the signature was input. So we're not going to allow manual input. It will just be taken by the time that the page loads, we will actually load in the date and time that it currently is in the area of the submission. The default date, we're going to make that moment. So again, once that page loads, that will be the moment. And we're going to make sure that the time zone is of the submission. So where the form is being submitted will be the time zone. Check that that's been also selected for any other date or time components that you've got in the form. I'm going to go ahead now and complete the last section of the form. So that's it. We then have to click create form or save if you're saving one. And then the URL link has been generated here.